My name is Samantha Matney, Samantha, and I'll be performing a prose titled My First Christmas Tree by Hamlin Garland. Our home at this time is a small frame house in the prairie, almost directly west, north, south, east, west of the Brook Grove. Because it was too cold to take out the horses, my brother and I, with our tall boots, our visored caps, and our long wool mufflers, started to forth afoot, defiant of the cold. We left the gate in the trot, bound for the side of the glittering unknown. The snow is deep, and we moved side by side in the grooves made by the hoofs of the horses, setting our feet in the shine left by the broad shoes of the wood sleighs, whose going had smoothed the way for us. Christmas, the only time of year where a strange man can break into your house and eat your food. The only time of year where you can sit in front of a dead tree eating candy out of socks. This is the kind of a woman who had first seen the Christmas tree as a young girl. Christmas is about making lifelong memories. That's why I remember My First Christmas Tree by Hamlin Garland. Our breaths rose like smoke, still in the air. It must have been 10 below zero. And at last, we came in sight of the lights, the sound of the singing, the laughter, the bells of the feast. It was a poor building, without tower or bell, and its low walls had but 3 windows to its side. And yet it seemed very imposing to me that night as I crossed the threshold and faced the strange people who packed it to the door. I say strange people, for though I had met many of them many times before, they all seemed somehow alien to me that night. I was an irregular attendant at Sunday school and did not expect a present. Therefore, I leaned against the wall, open-eyed, gazing at the marvelous shining pine which stood where the pulpit was wont to be. I don't think the tree had any candles, and I don't remember that it glittered with golden apples, but it was loaded with presents, and girls coming and going, clothed in bright garments, made me forget my own looks. I think they made me forget to move my overcoat, which was a sewed-in thing of poor cut and worse quality. I must have stood agape for nearly 2 hours, listening to the songs, noting every motion of Adoniram and Birch and Asa Walker as they directed the ceremonies and prepared the way for the great event, that is to say, for the coming of Santa Claus himself. A furious jingling of bells, the lifting of a window, the near clash of bells, and old St. Nick appeared. The children cried out, the girls tittered and shrieked with excitement, the boys laughed and clapped their hands. Then Sandy made a speech about being glad to see us all. But as he had many other places to visit, and there was a great many presents to distribute, I guess he'd have to call upon some of the many pretty girls to help him. So he called upon Haidee Knapp and Betty Birch. And I, for one, admire his taste. They were the most popular maids of the school. They came up blushing and a little bewildered by the publicity thus blown upon them. But their native dignity asserted itself, and the distribution of presents began. I have notion now that fruit upon tree was mostly bags of popcorn and cornucopias of candy. But as my brother and I stood there that night and saw everybody, even the rowdiest boy, getting something, we felt aggrieved and rebellious. We forgot that we had come from afar. We only knew that we were being left out. But suddenly, in the midst of our gloom, my brother's name was called, and a lovely girl with a gentle smile handed him a bag of popcorn. My heart glowed with gratitude. Somebody had thought of us. And when she came to me saying sweetly, "Here's something for you," I had not words to thank her. This happened nearly 40 years ago. But her smile, her outstretched hand, her sympathetic eyes are vividly before me as I write. She was sorry for the shock-headed boy who stood against the wall. And her sorrow made the little box of candy a casket of pearls. The fact that I swallowed the jewels on the way home does not take away from the reality of my adoration. And at last, I had to take my final glimpse of that wondrous tree, and I well remember the walk home. My brother and I traveled in wordless companionship. The moon was sinking towards the west, and the snow crust gleamed with a million fairy lamps. The lonely watchdogs barked from the farmhouses, and the wolves answered from the ridges. Now and then, sleighs passed us with lovers sitting two and two, and the bells on their horses had the remote music of romance to us whose boots clogged like drums of wood upon the icy road. Our house was dark as we approached and entered it, but how deliciously warmed it seemed after the pitiless wind. I confess, we went straight for the cupboard for a mince pie, a donut, and a bowl of milk. As I write this, there stands in my library a thick-branched, beautifully tapering fir tree, covered with golden purple apples of Hesperides, together with crystal ice points, green and red and yellow candles, clusters of gilded grapes, wreaths in metallic frost, and angels swinging in ecstasy. But I doubt if my children will ever know the keen pleasure, that is almost pain, which came to me and my brother in those Christmas days, when an orange was not a breakfast fruit, but a casket of incense and spice, a message from the sunlands of the south. That was our compensation we brought to our Christmas time, a keen appetite and empty hands. And the lesson of it all is, if we are seeking a lesson, that is to better give to those who want than to those who we ought to do something for because they did something for us last year. Thank you.